Welcome to Delisted, the series where I cover games that have been removed from Steam, giving you guys some information regarding their development stories, general to eventual delisting from the platform, along with some gameplay, with today's topic being the game God Mode. God Mode launched in 2013. It was a collaborative project between Saber Interactive and the subsidiary Old School Games, developed using the in-house Saber 3D engine. It was designed to be budget friendly, with a $10 launch price, extremely low for the time, and likely a symptom of the growing indie Microsoft Points game trend in these years. Fast-paced arena third-person shooter that paid homage to retro-style arcade action. It's the type of game that if it had been made 5 years earlier, it would have likely been a twin-stick shooter. The game has the player defeating hordes of enemies with random modifiers between rounds, very much like a roguelike, and was released a year after Black Ops 2, so I would believe that the full zombies hype and interest around this time played a large role in why this game might have been made. Before playing this game for the video, I played this game myself with some friends back on the Xbox 360, and being a fan of the Greek mythology setting, I remember my time with the game fondly. When launching the game, you are instantly met with a main menu that made me feel as though I was about to play a AA game that was made in the early 2010s. There are a bunch of customization options, albeit many of these are repeating assets with face swaps for your character. The gameplay customization options, on the other hand, feature a variety of guns and abilities in which you can make loadouts from. When setting up a game for the first time, there are a few modifiers to choose from. These act a lot like the skulls you'd find in Halo, and can be turned on to make things much harder in exchange for rewards like gold and XP. With my map and modifiers chosen, I attempted to load into my first game, and the game crashed. This happened each and every time I tried to load into a game, and I had to go diving into Steam discussion threads and Google searches in order to try and find a fix. In order to stop this crash from occurring for myself, I had to change my in-game video settings to the following, shown on screen now, and I believe it was disabling the anti-occlusion that seemed to be the fix. When finally making it into my first game, I immediately felt the whiplash of undoing the last 13 years of improvements to movement in video games. Despite having played the game on release, I did not recognise the starting area one bit, but as I head up the stairs into my first arena, recognition hit me. This is where I encountered my first test of faith. These are a big deal in God Mode and are per encounter modifiers that can either help you out big time, such as God Mode, the namesake of the game, or set you back, like doubling the enemy's health. To begin with, I found God Mode hard, and off the bat had a few gripes with the game. Outdated controls, such as using E to aim with the gun, being left unable to pause the game in a single player run, and respawning in a survival roguelike, which felt odd to me, given that after a death my momentum was halted, and it felt like a fail, which made my runs feel as though they were dragging on after each respawn. I had to go into the controls menu to discover how to sprint, and encountered some strange design choices, such as in the first round of the first level of the game, they decide to spawn a group of skeletons high above the player on a platform. The problem with this is that the starting loadout the player is given is a short-range shotgun and wildly inaccurate SMG. This left me dumping bullets in the general direction of the skeletons for longer than I should have, and not feeling great about it the entire time. Knockback is also a big problem in God Mode. Getting knocked down means losing control of your character for a significant amount of time while watching them slowly get up off of the floor. This isn't something we tend to see in games anymore, as the industry realised that as a player losing control of your character just doesn't feel good, but you'll see it a lot while playing God Mode. The destructible props and environments, on the other hand, were actually very cool. You are able to break enemy shields by shooting at them, and a lot of enemy projectiles are affected by physics, such as the boulders that are thrown in your general direction. I was really impressed by the enemy and map variety. Straight from the get-go, you are pitted against a mix of skeletons, zombies, minotaurs, harpies and cyclops, with some enemies seeming to only appear on specific maps. Some maps even have bespoke mechanics, like the catapults the player needs to fight their way to and interact with on Fortress. There's a lot going on in the background of these maps, and it's very cool to see as you work your way through them arena to arena. It's also worth mentioning that the game supports Steam achievements for the completionists among you. As I finished more runs, I was really getting into it, but that enthusiasm quickly wears off when you realise that the grind for XP, weapons, abilities and customization options is actually quite long. This would likely be mitigated if I was playing with friends, and I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy my time with God Mode, despite its flaws. At the time of recording this video, I attempted matchmaking on 3 separate days, and was unable to find a public game each time. The mechanics and gameplay loops developed for God Mode were later used as the technical basis for RIPD the game, which Saber Interactive was developing concurrently. This leads into one of the main hurdles for this game during development: the studio split focus. Reports from the community forums at the time indicated that developers were working on God Mode in their spare time while prioritising their more high-profile licensed game, RIPD. On release, a lot of players encountered severe bugs and connectivity issues, and while some patches were issued, there are reports that these fixes broke the game for others, leading to frustration within the player base and community forums. Because of the popularity of consoles at the time and the nature of this game, I do believe it would have seen a larger player base on consoles, but the SteamDB data is a good indicator of trends and popularity. The game launched on Steam to a peak player count in April 2013 of just over 2,000 players, which immediately dropped off to a few hundred in May. June saw another huge drop down to double digits merely a couple of months after release, but then in August we are back to almost 2,000 players, which I can only attribute to the Steam Summer Sale at this time. Since then, player numbers have continued to dwindle, with the game never really finding a strong and stable player base. Following the dissolution of old school games and the release of RIPD, updates for God Mode effectively ceased, and eventually the game was delisted from major platforms like Steam, Xbox 360 and PS3 around March 2019, likely due to expired publishing agreements with Atlas and a declining multiplayer population. Unfortunately, due to the lack of a physical release, this means you are no longer able to directly purchase this game. Since the delisting in 2019, the game has consistently fallen below a double-digit player count. If you want to play God Mode, keys are still currently available from third-party websites with the current price sitting around £3 or $4. The multiplayer is locally hosted, so if you manage to get a couple of keys, you and your friends will still be able to play together, and the entire game is accessible. I also tested to see if the game would run on a Steam Deck, which it does surprisingly well. Despite the not supported warning you are met with on launch, it ran for me without issue or any changes necessary, and actually seems like a great game for the handheld. Let me know down in the comments below if you have any memories of playing God Mode back in the day, or your thoughts on the game in general. Feedback on this format for these videos is also welcome. If you made it this far into the video, well done and thank you very much for watching.